A powerful warning that few people know about. Padre Pio revealed something that separates those who are under divine protection from those who remain vulnerable to spiritual attacks. This message about having a cross in your home contains a truth so profound that many have experienced unexplainable blessings after learning it. What you're about to discover isn't taught in most churches today. Padre Pio, the stigmatist saint known for his profound spiritual insights, warned his followers about something that directly affects the spiritual atmosphere of every home. This revelation about crosses in your dwelling place isn't merely religious tradition. It's a spiritual reality with tangible consequences. Throughout this video, you'll discover the 3 spiritual revelations Padre Pio shared about having a cross in your home. But pay special attention to the final one, as it holds the key to transforming your spiritual life completely. Each revelation builds upon the previous one, creating a complete picture of spiritual protection that many believers never fully understand. Not everyone will understand the significance of this message, but for those who are spiritually awakened, this revelation could be exactly what you've been searching for. In a world filled with increasing spiritual darkness, Padre Pio's warning about crosses in the home has never been more relevant than it is today. Stay until the end, because the final revelation is the most essential one that most people never hear about. This hidden teaching explains why some homes seem naturally peaceful, while others, despite outward appearances, feel spiritually heavy or troubled. The difference often comes down to this one simple element that Padre Pio insisted was non-negotiable for spiritual protection. Have you already experienced unusual blessings after placing a cross in your home? Comment below and share which teaching from Padre Pio has impacted your life the most. Your testimony might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. Padre Pio understood something that few comprehend about the spiritual power of sacred symbols in our homes. His words about having a cross in your dwelling place may forever transform your understanding of spiritual protection. The beloved saint often spoke about how our homes are not merely physical spaces, but spiritual battlegrounds. The home, Padre Pio would say, is where souls are either strengthened or weakened. When you place a cross in your home, you are making a declaration in both the physical and spiritual realms. But there's a mystery here that few recognize. The cross is not merely a decoration or a symbol of faith. It serves as a spiritual anchor that can transform the very atmosphere of your dwelling. Those who understand this truth experience a profound difference in their daily lives. Padre Pio warned that homes without this sacred symbol often experience unexplainable difficulties. The enemy roams freely where he is not challenged, he cautioned his spiritual children. This teaching remains profoundly relevant today, perhaps even more so in our troubled times. What makes this revelation so powerful is how it connects the visible and invisible worlds. Padre Pio, with his extraordinary spiritual gifts, could perceive realities hidden from ordinary eyes. He often described seeing guardian angels standing vigilant near crosses displayed in homes, and conversely, he would perceive spiritual disturbances in dwellings where no sacred symbols were present. This isn't superstition, it's spiritual reality. The cross represents the ultimate victory of light over darkness, of life over death. When displayed with faith, it creates what Padre Pio called a spiritual lighthouse that guides heavenly protection to your home while warning off negative influences. Many of Padre Pio's followers reported that after placing crosses in their homes as he instructed, they experienced immediate shifts in the home atmosphere. Some described it as a newfound sense of peace. Others noticed that persistent problems, from relationship conflicts to unexplained illnesses, began to resolve themselves in ways that seemed almost miraculous. One particular account stands out. A family who regularly visited San Giovanni Rotondo complained to Padre Pio about constant tension and disagreements in their household. Without hesitation, he asked, "Do you have crosses in your home?" When they admitted they did not, he responded firmly, Then you have invited discord to dwell with you. Following his advice, they placed crosses throughout their home and reported back months later that peace had been restored in ways they couldn't fully explain. Padre Pio explained that the cross serves three spiritual functions in a home. First, it acts as a reminder, constantly redirecting our thoughts toward divine realities when we glimpse it throughout our day. Second, it functions as a declaration, announcing to both seen and unseen realms that this dwelling is under divine protection. Third, and most mysteriously, it operates as a conduit through which grace can flow more freely into the home environment. This third function was particularly emphasized by the saint. He believed that just as radio waves invisibly transmit signals through the air, spiritual blessings are constantly being offered to humanity. The cross, he taught, acts like a spiritual antenna that helps receive these graces more effectively. Consider how this might be working in your own home. If you already have crosses displayed, have you noticed their effect? Many people live with crosses on their walls for years without fully understanding or activating their spiritual potential. Padre Pio taught that the full benefits come not just from the physical presence of the cross, but from the faith, reverence, and intention behind it. For those who dismiss this as outdated religious thinking, consider how even modern science acknowledges that our environment affects us in subtle but significant ways. The symbols we surround ourselves with shape our consciousness, influence our emotions, and even impact our physical well-being. If this is true on a natural level, how much more might it be true on a spiritual level? Padre Pio's warning about crosses in the home reveals his understanding of spiritual warfare, a reality he experienced with extraordinary intensity throughout his life. The stigmatic saint who bore the wounds of Christ for over 50 years knew firsthand about the battle between light and darkness. His advice about protecting our homes wasn't casual suggestion, but urgent counsel born from profound spiritual insight. Do you believe this teaching from Padre Pio is still relevant in today's world? Share your opinion in the comments. Your perspective might help others understand the importance of this often overlooked spiritual practice. The most powerful revelation Padre Pio shared about having a cross in your home revolves around three spiritual truths that transform ordinary dwellings into sanctuaries of divine grace. First, Padre Pio taught that a cross in your home serves as a constant reminder of Christ's sacrifice and victory. But this isn't merely symbolic. He insisted that this reminder actively shapes our thoughts and actions throughout the day. When your eyes frequently meet the cross, he explained, your heart naturally turns toward heaven. This simple but profound practice gradually transforms your spiritual awareness. The saint explained that our minds are constantly bombarded with worldly concerns and distractions. A prominently displayed cross interrupts this pattern, creating what he called sacred pauses in our day. These moments, however brief, reorient our perspective toward eternal realities. Over time, these sacred pauses accumulate, creating a profound shift in consciousness that affects everything from our stress levels to our treatment of others. Maria Donati, one of Padre Pio's spiritual daughters, once shared how this teaching changed her family. Before placing crosses in our home, as Father Pio suggested, our conversations constantly revolved around problems, complaints, and worldly concerns, she recalled. Within months of following his counsel, our family discussions naturally began, including more spiritual perspectives. We found ourselves speaking of God's providence, offering words of hope, and finding sacred meaning in ordinary events. Second, the Holy Friar revealed that the cross acts as a spiritual shield. There are countless testimonies from Padre Pio's followers who experienced supernatural protection after prominently displaying a cross in their homes. One family in San Giovanni Rotondo faced financial ruin during a severe economic crisis. After following Padre Pio's advice to place a blessed cross above every doorway in their home, they reported that unexpected opportunities emerged, allowing them to not only survive but prosper. Padre Pio explained this protective function in simple terms. The cross is not magical, but it is powerful. It reminds both you and the spiritual world of Christ's victory. He taught that when we place crosses with faithful intention, we essentially claim the victory of Christ over every challenge that enters our home. This is why he particularly emphasized placing crosses near entryways. They stand as spiritual sentinels guarding what comes in and goes out. Francesco Virilli, a businessman who sought Padre Pio's counsel during a period when his home was plagued by illness and misfortune, later testified, "Father Pio told me to place a cross at every entrance to my property and home. He said to do it with prayer, asking for Christ's protection. Within weeks, the constant stream of problems began to subside. My family's health improved, and a legal issue that threatened everything we owned was unexpectedly resolved in our favor." Third, and most importantly, Padre Pio warned that the cross in your home creates a sacred covenant between your family and God. This isn't merely about protection, it's about establishing your home as holy ground. The cross transforms a house into a domestic church, he would say. This covenant relationship brings unexpected blessings and spiritual growth to everyone who dwells there. This third revelation contains the deepest spiritual wisdom. Padre Pio explained that when we consciously place crosses in our home, we are making a declaration that this dwelling is consecrated to God. This creates what he described as a thin place, a location where the division between heaven and earth becomes more permeable, allowing divine grace to flow more freely. The saint taught that homes marked by the cross become places where prayers are more readily heard, where virtues more easily flourish, and where spiritual growth accelerates. He often told families that this covenant relationship doesn't just protect from harm, it actively nurtures goodness. Maria Concilia, one of Padre Pio's spiritual daughters, shared how her troubled marriage was healed after following this teaching. "We placed a cross in every room as Padre Pio instructed," she testified, "and gradually the arguments ceased, forgiveness flowed, and a peace we had never known settled upon our home. My husband, who rarely prayed, began pausing before the cross in our bedroom each night. Without pressure from me, his heart softened toward faith." What makes this teaching particularly powerful is how it combines spiritual depth with practical simplicity. Anyone can implement it, regardless of their resources or spiritual maturity. Yet its effects, according to countless testimonies from Padre Pio's followers, can be profound and far-reaching. The saint emphasized that this practice isn't about superstition or religious formality. Rather, it's about creating an environment where faith can naturally flourish, where divine protection is welcomed, and where grace becomes an almost tangible presence in daily life. Have you experienced anything similar to these teachings from Padre Pio? Share your experience in the comments section below. Your testimony could inspire others to transform their homes into sanctuaries of peace and grace. How can you apply Padre Pio's warning about crosses in your home to experience transformation in your daily life? The implementation is surprisingly simple, yet profoundly effective. First, Padre Pio recommended placing crosses strategically throughout your home, not just as decorative elements, but as intentional spiritual anchors. He specifically advised having a cross at the entrance of your home, in each bedroom, and in common gathering areas. The cross should be the first thing visitors see, he would counsel, and the last thing family members view before sleep. This strategic placement creates what the saint called sacred waypoints throughout your home. Each time you pass these crosses, they serve as gentle reminders to reconnect with spiritual reality amidst daily activities. Even without conscious acknowledgement, these visual cues work subtly on your awareness, gradually reshaping your thought patterns and priorities. When selecting crosses, Padre Pio advised choosing ones that speak to your heart, rather than merely matching your decor. The cross that draws your eyes upward is the one that will best draw your soul heavenward, he would say. Many of his spiritual children reported that he encouraged them to choose crosses that reminded them specifically of Christ's sacrifice and victory, rather than emphasizing artistic merit alone. The beloved saint also taught a specific practice for maximizing the spiritual benefits. He encouraged families to gather around the primary cross in their home at least once daily for prayer, even if just for a minute. This simple act, he explained, renews the covenant of protection daily and strengthens the spiritual shield around your dwelling. This daily gathering doesn't require elaborate prayers or rituals. Padre Pio suggested even the briefest acknowledgement. Lord, we place our home under the protection of your cross. Bless all who dwell here and all who enter. This simple dedication, performed consistently, reinforces the spiritual covenant established by the presence of the cross. Many who have followed this guidance report remarkable changes. The Bianchi family from Foggia shared how implementing this practice transformed their household. Before, our home felt heavy with tension and unexplained illnesses plagued our children, Giovanni Bianchi recalled. After placing crosses as Padre Pio instructed and praying briefly before them each evening, the atmosphere changed noticeably within weeks. Even neighbors commented on the peace they felt when entering our home. Padre Pio also advised blessing the crosses in your home with holy water regularly, ideally weekly. This simple ritual, he taught, refreshes the spiritual protection and reminds everyone in the household of the sacred nature of their dwelling place. For those without access to holy water, he suggested a simple prayer of blessing while touching each cross, acknowledging its spiritual significance. A particularly practical application involves teaching children about the meaning behind the crosses in your home. Padre Pio believed that explaining these spiritual realities to children in simple terms helped form their spiritual sensitivity from an early age. One mother from Benevento shared how her young son began spontaneously pausing before the cross in their hallway during difficult moments. When asked why, he simply said, "I'm asking Jesus to help me be brave." Another practical application involves using the presence of the cross as a moment for spiritual reset during difficult times. When facing conflict, stress, or spiritual dryness, Padre Pio suggested pausing before the cross for a brief moment of reconnection with God. In that moment, he would say, heaven touches earth, and grace flows freely. Teresa Luciano, a woman who sought Padre Pio's counsel during a period of severe anxiety, shared, "He told me to place a small cross on my work desk and to touch it briefly whenever worry overwhelmed me. This simple practice became my anchor. Within months, the anxiety that had controlled me for years diminished significantly." The saint also encouraged people to make the cross a central element in family celebrations and challenges alike. During times of joy, he suggested gathering before the main cross in the home to offer thanks. During periods of difficulty, he recommended the same gathering spot for seeking strength and clarity. This practice establishes the cross as the spiritual center of family life. For those who live alone, Padre Pio offered specific advice about using the cross to combat isolation. He suggested speaking aloud brief prayers before the cross throughout the day, creating what he called conversations of the heart that would fill the home with spiritual presence. Many elderly or solitary individuals who followed this practice reported a palpable sense of companionship that eased their loneliness. Perhaps most practically, the saint encouraged people to make the sign of the cross reverently when passing by crosses in their homes. This small gesture, he taught, activates the spiritual connection represented by the physical symbol and serves as a mini renewal of your home's consecration throughout the day. Have you tried implementing any of these practices in your home? How was your experience? Comment below and share your story. Your journey might provide the exact inspiration someone else needs to transform their home environment. If Padre Pio were sitting beside you right now, what would he say about your home environment? Would he see a dwelling protected by the sacred symbol of salvation? Or would he notice spiritual vulnerabilities that could be affecting every aspect of your life? Take a moment to reflect on your current spiritual state and that of your home. Do you sense a need for greater protection, for peace that seems elusive, for healing of relationships under your roof? Padre Pio's teaching about the cross might be exactly the spiritual solution you've been seeking all along. With his gift of reading souls, Padre Pio often surprised visitors by addressing precisely the spiritual issues they hadn't mentioned. Many reported how he would suddenly pause during conversations and say, "Your home lacks spiritual protection," before explaining the importance of the cross in creating a sanctuary of faith. This mysterious insight revealed his awareness of how our living environments directly impact our spiritual well-being. Consider the areas of your life that feel most challenged right now. Perhaps it's your health, your relationships, your work, or your peace of mind. Padre Pio firmly believed that establishing your home as sacred ground through the presence of the cross had ripple effects into every dimension of life. When your dwelling is consecrated, he would teach, even the most difficult circumstances begin to shift in mysterious ways. Vittoria Romano, who traveled from Naples to seek Padre Pio's counsel regarding her son's rebellion and her husband's growing distance, shared a striking testimony. "Without my mentioning our family problems, Padre Pio immediately asked about crosses in our home. When I admitted we had none, his eyes filled with compassion. 'Your home is like a garden without walls,' he told me. 'Everything you plant is trampled before it can grow.'" After following his guidance about placing crosses throughout their home, Vittoria reported gradual but unmistakable healing in both relationships. The saint would often tell those who sought his counsel that spiritual battles are won or lost primarily in the home. This is why he was so insistent about this seemingly simple practice. For Padre Pio, the cross in your home wasn't optional for those serious about their spiritual journey. It was essential. Ask yourself honestly, have you been approaching your faith primarily as something practiced in church or community settings while neglecting the spiritual atmosphere of your own dwelling? Padre Pio believed that authentic spirituality begins at home, where our truest selves are revealed and where our most significant formation occurs. The cross in your home serves as the cornerstone of this domestic spirituality. Think about the legacy you're creating in your home. What spiritual atmosphere are you cultivating for yourself and your loved ones? Padre Pio believed that homes marked by the cross became fountains of grace, not just for those living there, but for everyone who entered. "A house protected by the cross," he once remarked, "becomes an oasis of God's presence in a spiritual desert." Many of his spiritual children reported that after placing crosses in their homes as he instructed, they noticed not only personal benefits, but an increased capacity to minister to others. Their homes became places where troubled friends found counsel, where weary souls found rest, and where spiritual seekers encountered authentic faith lived out in daily life. Maria Lombardi, an elderly woman from Padre Pio's hometown, shared how her small apartment became a place where neighbors would come when they needed prayer or comfort. "I simply followed Padre Pio's instruction about placing crosses throughout my home and praying before them daily," she explained. "Gradually, people began to notice something different about my home and would come seeking that peace they felt when they stepped through my door." This aspect of Padre Pio's teaching reveals its outward-facing dimension. The cross in your home doesn't just protect and bless your family, it establishes your dwelling as a light in your community, a refuge of peace in a troubled world. In an age marked by increasing disconnection and spiritual hunger, such sanctuaries become increasingly precious. Consider too how this teaching might address modern challenges that Padre Pio couldn't have foreseen. Many homes today are filled with digital devices that bring the world's chaos, values, and distractions directly into our most intimate spaces. The cross stands as a powerful counterbalance, a silent but constant reminder of eternal realities amidst the temporary and trivial concerns that often dominate our attention. One family who implemented Padre Pio's teaching in the digital age shared how placing a small cross near their television and computer transformed how they engaged with media. "It sounds simple," the father explained, "but having that visual reminder of Christ's presence made us more mindful of what we were viewing and how much time we were spending on screens. Our habits gradually changed without forced rules or conflict." Are you ready for such a transformation? The decision to implement this teaching could be the turning point you've been praying for. The cross, properly understood and reverently placed, might be the catalyst for spiritual renewal that affects every dimension of your life and home. When was the moment you most strongly felt God's presence in your life? Share your testimony in the comments. Your experience might illuminate the path for others seeking deeper spiritual connection. As we conclude this revelation about Padre Pio's warning concerning crosses in the home, remember that spiritual truths often appear simple but contain profound power. The cross, symbol of suffering transformed into victory, can likewise transform your home from an ordinary dwelling into hallowed ground where angels tread and blessings flow. Throughout history, the wisest spiritual guides have understood that the greatest mysteries are often hidden in plain sight. Padre Pio, with his extraordinary gifts of bilocation, prophecy, and reading souls, consistently directed people back to these fundamental practices that many overlook. The presence of the cross in your home is just such a practice, seemingly basic, yet containing layers of spiritual significance that unfold over time. Padre Pio's life was marked by extraordinary spiritual gifts, but his teachings were remarkably practical. He understood that the greatest spiritual battles are often fought in the ordinary spaces of our daily lives. By bringing the cross prominently into your home, you are not merely decorating, you are declaring your dwelling as territory claimed for the kingdom of God. Consider how this teaching connects to Padre Pio's broader spiritual guidance. The stigmatic saint often spoke about the importance of prayer, sacrifice, and trust in divine providence. The cross in your home serves as a daily reminder of all three: Christ's sacrificial love, his triumph over suffering, and the ultimate providence that transforms even the worst circumstances into pathways to glory. The testimonies we've explored reveal a consistent pattern. Those who heed this warning and implement this teaching experience tangible shifts in their home atmosphere, relationships, and even their material circumstances. The cross in your home becomes a conduit for grace, a shield against darkness, and a beacon that guides your family toward heaven. One particularly moving account comes from Antonio Ferrero, whose family business was on the verge of bankruptcy when he sought Padre Pio's counsel. "Place a cross at the entrance of your shop and another above your desk," the saint instructed him. "Each morning before opening, stand before it and surrender your work to God's hands." Antonio followed this guidance faithfully, even when employees mocked him. 6 months later, an unexpected partnership offer saved the business. But the greater miracle, Antonio later testified, was how my attitude toward work changed. The constant anxiety was replaced by a deep peace that remained even during difficulties. This transformation of interior attitude, while external circumstances remain challenging, is a hallmark of authentic spiritual practice. Padre Pio never promised that the cross in your home would magically eliminate all problems. Rather, he taught that it would provide the spiritual foundation necessary to face those problems with faith, courage, and supernatural peace. In our modern world, where anxiety, depression, and spiritual emptiness have reached epidemic proportions, this simple teaching offers a practical first step toward creating spaces of healing and wholeness. The cross in your home stands as a countercultural declaration that meaning comes through sacrifice, that suffering can be redemptive, and that victory ultimately belongs to love. Today, you stand at a crossroads. Will you dismiss this teaching as simple or embrace it as the spiritual solution you've been seeking? The choice to implement Padre Pio's guidance could be the difference between struggling against unseen forces and living under divine protection. If this teaching has touched your heart, I urge you to take action today. Select a cross with reverence and place it prominently in your home. Begin the practice of acknowledging it daily through prayer or simple reflection. Then, watch attentively for the changes that will surely follow. Remember that spiritual transformation rarely happens overnight. Padre Pio often reminded his spiritual children that patience is essential in the spiritual life. The full effects of implementing this teaching may unfold gradually over weeks and months. What matters is your faithful beginning and consistent practice. More importantly, share this message with someone who needs to hear it today. In a world where spiritual warfare intensifies daily, this simple act of sharing could protect another family from unnecessary struggles. Perhaps you know someone whose home feels spiritually heavy, whose family seems under unusual pressure, or who longs for deeper peace in their dwelling place. Padre Pio's teaching about the cross might be exactly what they need. As this video concludes, carry with you these final words that Padre Pio often shared with those who sought his guidance. The cross is your protection, your comfort, and your greatest teacher. Let it speak to you daily, and you will find wisdom no book can contain. Remember Padre Pio's powerful words: pray, hope, and don't worry. Worry is useless. God is merciful and will hear your prayer, especially from a home where his cross reigns. May God's blessing and Padre Pio's intercession be with you always as you implement this powerful spiritual practice in your home. May your dwelling become a sanctuary of peace, a fortress against darkness, and a fountain of grace for all who enter. If you wish to continue discovering the spiritual secrets Padre Pio revealed for protection and blessing, subscribe now and activate the notification bell. What comes next could transform your life forever.